All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Clone Qualifiers. I don't know who won game number 1, so now we're just going to jump straight into game number 2 of Bomber versus Jaedong because they sporadically invited me on a whim. Okay, so this will determine who moves on to play against Curious, then who moves on to play against Hudar and whatever. There has been a game 1, we just don't know the result yet. So, I'm going to cast this from a very impartial Jaedong 1. Alright, Jaedong's 1-0 up. The magic of television tells me so. Alright, let's jump into game number 2 and find out how it's going to unfold. Jaedong currently 1-0 up against Bomber. It's Jaedong versus Bomber! Tell your friends. Tell your friends. Okay, okay, so we have the wall off. Going to go down here for Bomber. Jaedong currently 1 game up. Ooh, could get scary. And he's going for a little bit of a drone scout very, very quickly to see exactly what Bomber's going to throw at him very early on. Now, it looks also like he's just trying to make sure that he's not going to get proxied, as that did go quite the direction. So he wants to touch the... definitely wants to touch the Zelnaga tower and then move straight on past that. But for now, it looks as if Bomber actually wants to go command center first. Or it did there for a second at least. Yeah, so I can't see SCVs queued up in this command center, but it looks like he's going to go for command center first here against Jaedong. And we all know Bomber for his TVZ. If you reflect back to how Bomber was playing during things like Red Bull Battlegrounds and the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore, mostly against Scarlett, a lot of heavy parade pushes from Bomber. Maybe we'll see a different Bomber. Maybe we'll see a mech Bomber. I'm not willing to believe that we would see a mech Bomber. Whenever I think Bomber, I always think Bio. But for now, Jaedong is being annoying with that drone, trying to harass away with it, and that SCV. Just shoo it away for now. Back home though, Jaedong has a hatchery going down as well as spawning pool. So not too much craziness going on from either of these, even the refinery being added on just so that he can get that Reaper out whenever he wants to. And the second SCV, or third SCV in this little cluster comes back to make sure that this drone does get shooed away. So, where are you going, SCV? Very, very weird direction there for a second. It's because he actually had the supply depot raised, but this drone almost gets himself killed. He has to be careful. 2 more hits and you would be kaput. But anyway. So, we see that the gas is actually being saved up for something that isn't a Reaper. So he's just going to go straight up to factory very, very quickly with this and just use the Marines for a little bit of defense. The thing is that if you're going to go command center first, committing gas to a Reaper is a bit luxurious. You can't really get a whole lot done with it. By the time you finish your command center first and got a Reaper out across the map, there's going to be Queens out. And Zergling's already there to buy time, even if the Queens are out anyway. So it's a little bit hard to really make work. Oh, wow, actually. Okay, so gonna decide to go for a command center before the factory goes down. But there we go, it is on the way along with the reactor as well. So triple CC nice and early here for Bomber. And meanwhile, how are we gonna see Mr. Jaedong react to this? I mean, he's still command center first anyway, so now he's feeling a little bit more comfortable to work on these rocks really, really aggressively. If he hadn't have seen command center first, then there was no real reason why he would be able to bring that second queen down from the main to then start working on those rocks. So very, very quick to the point, trying to get access to his third base properly so that he can play into the macro here. We do have that tech lab being added on in the barracks as well. So I'm going to switch over for that. That's slightly out of place. Ah! 1 down. He's not building that. Okay, there we go. So that does hurt a little. Those Hellions are going to be slightly slower here for Bomber. as he only had one in production for a little while there whilst he was doing everything else. And behind all of this, Jaedong grabs himself double evolution chamber. It's going to be nice to block off against these Hellions that are going to be slightly delayed again. So there's small knock-on effects here that are really hurting Bomber. Not really the most amazing of positions. Now we have 1-1 on the way, melee upgrades. And those 2 Hellions are moving across the map. I keep trying to press follow, but it's never working for me. I don't know why. But good creep spread so far from Jaedong. Good creep spread, not only being able to extend out beyond the perimeters of the third base and then eventually connect those up, but they're also pushing through the middle quite aggressively as well. Up to 6 queens right now. So we'll transfer one of those back to the third eventually once it gets up and use 3 queens to continue that spread. And against a player like Bomber, the further that you can get the creep, the better. Because he is so well known for that parade push, and as you can see here, just adding on more barracks. I was very apprehensive as to if we were going to see a mech style from Bomber, and it's certainly not going to be the case. So he's just going to go for parade style, as he always does. And whether that's going to work against Jaedong here, we shall see. Ling's Bane and Muta will be Jaedong's choice of weapon. And he's even breaking down the rocks here to claim himself a 4th base. So Jaedong has gone so uncontested in these earlier stages of the game because he's scouted out the command center first, because he knew that there weren't going to be Reapers along, because the Hellions really didn't do anything as they had a slight delay on them from a small mistake there by Bomber. But Bomber is trying to compensate for that. He's getting himself his 3rd base up as quickly as possible. He wants to break down these rocks so he can transfer on, get himself up to a nice set of SCVs, and then from that point on, have his 1-1 flourishing behind all of this in double engineering bays. But the upgrades are almost always going to be ahead for Jaedong, especially if he keeps doing this. I think that the creep here is going to buy him, if he keeps going like this, it's going to buy him so much time that he might even find a very quick way to get up to Hive. Normally, in this situation as a Zerg, you don't feel like you can get up to Hive that quickly and then get, 3-3, because your opponent has such easy access to your bases. And actually, now that I say that, though, Bomber is clearing up some of this, and he's clearing it up faster than I was anticipating him moving out. So this should be able to slow that progression down just a little bit of Jaedong feeling comfortable. But as you can see, killing off a lot of the active creep tumors, doing a really, really good job of that. But at the same time, Link's going to move on forward. Centrifugal Hooks is not done just yet, but the Zerglings get a great wraparound on a lot of this, and he has to lift up and run away for now. Oh, but those Banelings get great connections. And that Widowmine, not so much. So, 2 more Widowmines in production here. Lots of Lings going down here for Jaedong. Jaedong looking comfortable, and he actually found Lings into his opponent's main as well. Just a few. Get himself 6 worker kills. But also Banelings heading over to the 3rd base. Uh-oh, this could be really bad here for Bomber. Those 2 Widowmines. Be champions. Gods of the arena. Be gods. But there's a lot of Lings and Banes also on the way. And noticeably, he still doesn't actually have the Mutalist transition on the way. He's just going pure Ling Bane here. And it's working out all right for him. Not too bad a split. One of those Marauders soaked up 1 or 2 of those Banelings. But in the end, the Banelings didn't really work out. He actually traded quite a bit there. Bomber held on strong, but the Lings, if they can get the surround, he needs to lift up. Everything does Bomber. Morphing in Banelings right next to all of this. Oh, that 1 Widowmine, 10 kills on that. And the Lings continue to stream on 4th. Okay. I asked Classic what his Twitter was, so that is the reason for that. So, there you go. There's Classic's Twitter. Go follow him, guys. Let's see if we can get him a lot of followers. But meanwhile, all the SCVs had to come off the line to combat all of these Lings and Banelings back. Mules will get dropped, so you can continue on with that. And look at the supplies. I mean, Bomber has held on pretty strongly during all of this. Unit counts. We have still a lot of Marines rallied out here, good to go. Plus 2-2 will finish in a little bit. But a lot of the gas that we saw there expended into those Banelings could have been directed towards the Spire a little bit quicker and trying to hold Bomber back in that regard. I'm not sure that all of those Banelings really paid for themselves in terms of the gas investment, but now he goes for the run around once again with these Lings. A ton of Bomber's army is out in the middle of the field, no man's land, as it does try and push on forwards to the 4th base. And all the SCVs actually leave the 3rd base as he separated a few Lings off over there. 5 kills, 2 kills on those Widow Mines. Meanwhile, though, Bomber pressing his advantage over at the 3rd base. How much will he be able to get done? Bomber actually has a supply lead here, and an army advantage, quite significant. Needs to pick up, though, and get away from those Banelings, and indeed he will end up doing. Those Banelings can't quite easily chase onto that 4th base, but he's still going to have to force the pick up in a second here, as those Lings try and get the wraparound once again. Still Lings being pesky at this 3rd base, but the Bomber is never stopping. And also, the Spire is actually quite vulnerable. If he stims and actually focuses that down, maybe he can get it, but that's a lot of Lings coming in from the side. And will he be able to get the Spire? A good pickup. All in all, though, there are around 15 Mutalisks going to be out in just a little bit. Another Spire has to start, but that's a long time it takes to actually build it. Placing it at the 3rd base is a bit of an oversight there by Jaedong. Leaves it a bit more vulnerable to bases that are more likely to be attacked by Bomber, as they are the more vital mining bases. Especially since they're also closer towards the rally points that Bomber has set when it comes to his notorious parade push. But for now, another Spire's going down, noticeably in the main. Wants to keep that a bit more healthy, a bit more alive. That's always so important, but he has to be careful about Banelings. Some of those Banelings did connect on Marauders, though, as the split did occur with those Marines all the way down to the back. And despite Jaedong's great efforts to spread the creep across the other side of the map, Bomber has somehow, some way, been able to subside that kind of torrent of creep tumors that we've seen previously. And now it's only really getting okay spread on the right-hand side. Not too bad on the left, but in the middle, it's certainly been shut down. Bomber now 103 army supply against 76. Plus 3 without the second 3 is on the way here for Bomber. He could start his army. He has the gas available to him to do so, but at the same time, his 3rd base is constantly being forced to cease operations. So that is always a bit of a hindrance here to him. He's going to try and go for the surround, though, on either side. What a huge surround as he tries to catch a lot of this in there. He loads up with the medevacs to get out, but a big, big surround attempt there for Jaedong, and it was fantastically executed as the Mutalisks will also fly in and get a few of those medevacs. Has to fall back, though, as the Marines get dropped down to push them away. So for now, Lings and Bane's just going to chill out, just going to sit around and not do a whole lot, whilst Bomber continues the parade push. +3 weapons is about to finish here for Bomber. It's a little ways off, but it'll finish in good time, as these 2 Widow Mines place themselves wonderfully to zone out from that 4th location. It puts the Marauders at the front, meaning that those Banelings can't quite easily just A-move into this army. Good separation of Marines as well, trying to hold this at bay, whilst all of the Zerglings have melted. That leaves the Mutalists vulnerable, and Bomber presses his advantage at the 4th base, still constantly rallying Marines after Marines across to this location. That one Widow Mine at the back isn't able to get any detonations, maybe just a few Zerglings at the back. But the Banelings don't do the job they need to do, as Bomber now takes a little bit of supply advantage. There was a small counterattack over at the 3rd base for Jaedong with a few Lings to try and kill off some SCVs once again. But as you can see, the supply advantages are now almost always in favor of Bomber. Not only that, but we're down to 4 Mutalisks. That puts a real halt on being able to kill any more medevacs apart from that one, as long as the bioforces remain there to be able to hold steadfast. The last 4 Mutalisks end up falling so rapidly to those Marines. And now a lot of trouble here for Jaedong in game number 2. Remember, Jaedong currently 1 game up in this best of 3, so if it goes to that 1-1 scenario, I'm a happy chap, as we get another game between Jaedong and Bomber. All right, so he stims up, looking to take out this 4th base. Almost certainly going to fall unless Jaedong has some kind of answer to it. He has Lings trying to intercept some of the reinforcements, but the army supplies are way too in favor of Bomber here. 103 to 39. Jaedong is going to fall here in game number 2. unless somehow, some way he gets great Baneling detonations on these armies. Doesn't have access to Burrow, I don't think, but regardless, this next base is absolutely obliterated. A few Banelings do roll in, but it's not really going to be enough. Zerglings, Mutalisks, and Banelings now try and swarm on in. Once again, kill off a lot of the bio on the low ground, but the high ground bio just never, ever ceases. There you go, GG. Game number 2 goes to Bomber. And we now will go on to game number 3 between these guys to find out who is going to be victorious and advance on to play against Curious. That wasn't meant to rhyme. Kind of. Anyway. Okay, so we are now going to wait a second here whilst we get the next invite from these guys. I shall message Bomber just to make sure that he does invite again. Invite again, please, just in case he doesn't forget. As I wasn't in from the very, very beginning. But a big thank you guys for joining me on the stream. This is the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne qualifiers for the Asian region. And we already have one player already advancing on in the form of Classic, showing that he's an amazing, amazing Protoss talent. And now we're battling it out down in the lower bracket, finding out who is also going to advance on. So, no updates down there. Cure versus Rain is ongoing right now, whilst we just conclude Bomber versus Jaedong, and the winner of that will play Curious, which will leave us with only the Koreans left now from the Asian qualifiers. Surprise, surprise. This is kind of what happens. Thank you, GLGL. Okay, so game number 3. Habitation Station will be our map. And okay, and also let's follow Classic. So we have followed Classic. If you would like to follow him, it's KDW0197. I repeat, KDW0197. Bit of an odd Twitter name, of all things. He probably changed it to SKT Classic, I guess. But now we are going to get into game number 3. Habitation Station will be our map for Jaedong versus the Bomber. The winner will advance on to play against Curious in the next round. And then the winner of that will play against either Rain or Cure. And then the winner of that will play against SOS to see who advances on to the Intel Extreme Masters. All right, so let's jump into game number 3. As we have spawning up to the top left as our red Terran. He is Bomber. And up to the top right, we have our blue Zerg. He is Jaedong. All right, I'm sure a lot of people are sad to see one of these players go out in this round, but it has to happen. Otherwise, we'd just let everybody in the tournament and we'd have all the Koreans. Yay! We'd have lots. There's so many good ones. So many. All right. I personally would love to have either Bomber or Jaedong there. But they've got to go through Curious first. A player that always seems to make it happen when it comes to the qualifiers for Intel Extreme Masters. He's a monster of the qualifiers. Like the past 3 or 4 now, he's done superbly well as Curious. So one of them's going to have a tough time ahead of them. As you can see here, Jaedong making sure that nothing too crazy is going on. An interesting barracks placement, actually, here for Bomber. This might fool Jaedong into a more defensive mindset if for some reason he doesn't go over to the left-hand side. And okay, so even the straight path from that ramp to that mineral line still sees it on the very edge of vision there for the drone, so it's not too tricky in the end. But aside from that, expansion is on the way here for Jaedong, and probably going to end up grabbing his spawning pool in just a little bit. Anything other than that would be crazy. against Bomber here, who's looking to just go for barracks into command center. And Jaedong's discovered this. He sees no gases. He's content with the position that he's in against this kind of one barracks expansion. And unfortunately for him, he can't stick around and work on the SCV because the Marine is already out. So, spawning pool gets added on. And will we see a gas is the question. I mean, we could quite easily see another hatchery go down as long as he is very, very mindful of its positioning. If he goes down here, then Bomber is very unlikely to expect a third hatchery going down that quickly. But at the same time, you can't really make too much use of it as the Zerg. You always have to be careful of Bomber being very aggressive. And he's going to have out a lot of units very, very fast. Is Bomber with these triple barracks before gas. Well. We may see a reaction come out from Jaedong. If he's able to spot this a little bit quicker than he normally would, of a baneling nest a little bit quicker than he normally would. But for now, he's a little bit oblivious, as we have the gas also being added on here for Bomber. We could see a small timing come out of Bomber to really try and punish his opponent with a very, very strong set of Marines. And the Zerglings are going to slowly poke up, trying to check out what's going on. And, well, he sees the two Marines there at least. So can't really go much further. Sees 4 Marines now. And they do get those Zerglings in the end, which is a nice pickup there. So we'll deny frontal vision at these spots. Whilst we now have plenty of Marines piling on out. This tech lab's really the most important part of this build, because from here on out, could quite easily just go for stim and then pile out a ton of Marines very, very quickly, and then just go for the straight push. Now, he is already pushing down to this third base, which has been spotted by Bomber, and the SCV has not been spotted either. So he's going to start a bunker on the edge of this, but this will soon be discovered if we see Jaedong slowly pushing the creep out in that direction. And there we go, he does see it now. So the problem is that reactions, he lures the Queens off creep for just a second there and tries to push in with the Marines, but that's a lot of Marines. There's a lot of Zerglings in production. Jaedong realizes that he hasn't quite reacted to this in time. And now, with this many Marines across here, he has to know that something a little bit weird is going on in terms of the build. It's not quite the normal of barracks into factory into starport. This is definitely a bit more difficult. He did cancel, but he also got the drone over on this right-hand side. And we have double evolution chambers going down as well. So those Lings, for now, are doing a good job of saying to these Marines, hey, you now have to go back. You can't really do any more damage, which Bomber is adhering to. We have the factory being added on here for Bomber as well. But the thing is that he has like 20-some Marines out with stim. It's a very, very brutal number of Marines here. The Zerglings are trying to actually catch some of these stragglers, and they do in the end. Bomber's just going to continue to play this out. He's got the double engineering bays, slowing down his opponent's third in the way he did. It was a very, very strong move, because now when this parade push eventually starts here for Bomber, the economy isn't going to be as strong for Jaedong. We're getting up to the 9-minute mark, and the third is still not up. Yes, it is 51 workers to 44 in favor of Jaedong, and Bomber's feeling a little bit worried, adding on a second barracks to make sure that he's not going to get hit by something too crazy. Sorry, a second bunker to make sure he's not going to get hit by something too crazy. But for now, he is safe. Those Lings really caused him some troubles in his mind. But behind all of this, it's going to be 5 barracks off of 3 command centers. That third command center may end up flying pretty soon. Now, one thing that's not too bad about this map is if you fly over to this gold base and take it, which looks like Bomber is going to, then the parade push style that we see from Terrans here can, if he wants to go past the watchtower, also protect this base very, very nicely. It's a little bit... it's much harder to make some kind of parade style work if you're going to try and take down this base, because it's way out of the way. Ling run-bys will always cause you a headache and a half. But now Bomber is playing this out a little more slowly. Of course, he kind of has to, because his medevacs were delayed, as well as his 1-1 upgrades were slightly delayed compared to a normal standard play, in favor of delaying his opponent's third base. And Ling's actually run in and grabbed themselves a siege tank. That's a good trade there, and they even get out. Good stuff by Jaedong. And Bomber's even supply blocked here for a second. Not sure how that happened. Was that a supply depot that he started at the front and not a bunker? Anyway. Whatever. No, it can't have been, because it didn't even finish, so that would have been weird. But anyway, the Lings are going to head on back. It's going to be a Ling Bane Muta once again here for Jaedong. But the Banelings, the Mutas are being committed to a little bit quicker than game number 1. So all of his gas, or the majority of his gas, is intensely focusing down that route, whilst Burrow just finished. And those two Banelings... Okay. Alright, I need to keep an eye on you. So, alright, Jaedong is now going to have to try and hold off against drop play on either side of the map. As... can be a little bit annoying. It's already been spotted very easily by everything. And he will clean up those 2 Lings on the watchtower, but there's plenty of Lings there to be able to push through. This is actually quite an effective trade position for Bomber, because he's so choked up in that little location there, and he just misses those 2 Banelings on the left. So, Bomber will push this away. Well, sorry, Jaedong will push that away. Retreat back to the safety of his missile turret. Now, the way in which these 2 Banelings are placed, it's not like placed in the middle here or something like that. Just in general, the pathing of these Marines will oftentimes hug towards this wall as they go around. So it's a really cool little position. As 2 Marines for Bomber are just going to head on around and look to threaten with the drop down to the bottom right. Very isolated location, but at the same time, Jaedong has still been very, very strong about constantly spreading his creep through the middle of the map. Still more Banelings. I think maybe these ones could have been put back a little bit further. Oh, geez. Actually, it never stops. Okay, so, yeah, a lot of Banelings everywhere. Where are there any more that I haven't spotted just yet? I need to find them just in case it happens. Anyway, there is the drop down here to the south. That's an annoying position, because he can just ferry them up to the top, and Jaedong realizes that, so splits his forces up a little bit. And he just selected those 2 Banelings there. But... oh, he catches a few of them on the tail. And meanwhile, drops a scan right next to this creep, realizing he has to clean it up. But now he knows that there are some Banelings burrowed in other locations. These 2 are the next ones to be activated potentially, or even these ones. If he drops a scan here to clean things up, he's going to get the creep tumors as well as those Banelings. Did these Mutalisks clean up this drop down to the south? I believe they may have done. But now Bomber is going to continue on with the path he's chosen. He drops a scan, catches all of the Banelings that were burrowed. Good choice, but at the same time, a big, wide counterattack on the left-hand side here. There was a lot of Marines in there, but look how many Lings actually just got evaporated under the firepower of those Widow Mines. And siege tanks on Widow Mines, meanwhile, here for Bomber, just pressing on forwards. Jaedong, I feel he might be in a little bit of trouble. This position for Bomber is absolutely phenomenal, but at the same time, he's doing a lot of damage to his opponent's economy line. So this could help him out. This could turn the tide if he's able to hold off, as the Banelings get some great connections on a lot of the Marines at the front. Jaedong now takes a supply advantage. There's a few more Banelings burrowed here during all of this. If this army gets forced back, there's a few more Banelings there as well. He should be able to trigger them, and he gets them once again. Jaedong with the connections, Jaedong with the absolute phenomenal positioning, is able to push this huge force of Bomber back, with the Mutalisks swinging in from the side as well. Habitation Station, what do you do to us? As he gets plenty of those medevacs on the retreat out there as well. Army supply is now 82 to 86, but behind this, 39 to 80 workers. The income here for Jaedong, vastly superior. There's still burrowed banelings lurking in wait. All right, 12 more banelings on the way to make this even harder for Bomber. Bomber's gonna have nightmares about this map one day, man. Habitation Station is not Bomber's friend. Well, he's gonna clear up the rest of this creep. He's like, well, yeah, screw you, I'm just gonna go somewhere else and clean up. But I mean, this gold base has been shut down. This is gonna regulate so much of his economy. He does not have a fourth base. That was pretty much all he had in terms of really, really strong, powerful economy. And the Mutalisks just fly straight on in. They have +2 weapons. They can do whatever they want. As these Marine and Bioforces do clean up the fourth base, but this trade, I just do not think is that effective for him. He burrows some banelings on the very edge of creep. Oh, those Widow Mines get some good shots off. 28 kills and 12 kills apiece. The Mutalisks still being oh so pesky. A lot of economy here for Jaedong. We see the push on forwards again, and the Banelings should be able to shoo that away. But right now, army count in favor. Oh, Banelings! Oh, still gets even more! Oh, God. And there's even more Banelings! Oh, Bomber. Just give up. It's not worth it. There you go, GG. Jaedong advances on. He is going to be playing against Curious in the next series. And I have just had heart palpitations. All right, that's going to do it for that series, guys. Now we go to a short break, and then when we are back, we're going to have more action from the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne. It's going to be Jaedong versus Curious. Don't go anywhere.